Relationship Revivalist podcast. This is John, and I'm here with my amazing, incredible wife and co-host, Jess.
Hey, John.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing amazing. And you know, today is something, we've got something really amazing for our listeners today. And
it's very, very special. We have our first guest.
Yes, we do. And we said that last week we were going to have a guest on, and that's exactly what we're having here. And we have been able to get a life coach here that specializes in relationships, and her name is Erica Gilbert, and she's been doing this for quite a bit now, and I think you're going to really love what she has to say. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the interview with Erica Gilbert. Okay, now we have Erica online here with us, and welcome to the show, Erica.
It's awesome to be here. I'm very excited. Thank you for the invitation.
We're excited to have you.
So we wanted to get in and talk to you a little bit about what you do, and perhaps you might have a story for us to start off with.
Well, basically, I'm a life coach. I've been doing life coaching unofficially, I want to say, for like the last decade, but officially for the last 3 years. And one of my specialties right now is everything to do with relationships. I've had some interesting things happen in the last few years, which has basically forced me to get very curious about this subject. So again, very excited to be here with you guys. The Relationship Revivalists. I've been following you guys with a lot of zeal and passion. And I must say that your fan page and your podcast is something that I turn to for a lot of inspiration.
That is so awesome. It's good to hear that.
We're so happy that it's been helpful.
Absolutely.
And so you were talking about you've had some interesting experiences in the relationship department, and we really were so intrigued when we got to hear your story, and I think it should be on a movie. It's such an amazing love story, and we'd like to have you talk a little bit about it and kind of what led you on your path. Sure.
Well, I'll start with where it kind of started, and that was with the end of my marriage. And long story short, I waited a very long time to get married. I waited until I was 39, and I was always waiting for that feeling, that feeling that you've met the one, and you're going to basically ride off into the sunset together and spend, the rest of your life together. And that has always been my concept of marriage. I come from a family where my parents have been married all my life, basically, and they have a beautiful loving relationship. And I knew that ultimately I wanted to emulate that. And so I waited. I didn't, jump into, the first, relationship came along that looked kind of, like I was going to go somewhere. I waited until everything felt right. And if there's one thing that I absolutely want, all of your listeners to really grasp from today's interview is going with your feelings, going with your intuition, going with that inner guidance that is literally trying to communicate with you all the time. And it's funny, my mom always said to me, my mom is so funny. She always said to me, Erica, if you ever have one single doubt, this is about marriage, don't do it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good piece of advice to give your daughter or a bad piece, right? But anyway, that one little piece of advice made me wait, like I said, until I was 39. And it just, I met this guy, and he absolutely just knocked my socks off. And we had a whirlwind romance. And 5 weeks after meeting each other, he asked me to marry him. And it just felt right? It just felt so good. And long story short, and again, feelings, my friends, we have to be very in tuned with these. Long story short, after about 8 or 9 years, he didn't have the feeling anymore. And, look, one of the things we have to always understand is that people have free will, and you can never, ever, ever make anyone do something they don't want to do. And I think, to be really honest, we've had one of the most beautiful breakups in the history of anyone that I know. in that we are still best of friends. We have an incredible amount of love for each other. But I simply realized that, look, you can't hold on to someone who doesn't want to be with you anymore. So I respected his courage, to say, you know what, I just don't feel this anymore. And I'll be honest, I was devastated. I probably went into 2 years of a deep, dark depression. You have a vision for, how your life is going to turn out. And all of a sudden, I don't know, all the curtains come down. It's like you can't see anything. It's like, what happened, right? And it was funny. At this point in time, I was getting my actual certification to be a life coach. And as I was going through all of the training, there was a lot in there about relationships and parenting. And I'm like, I don't want to learn about relationships and parenting. That's not for me, right? And it's hilarious. You're like, guys, be very careful what you resist, because what you resist persists, right? So I flew through, all the modules, and I really just kind of glossed over the whole relationship thing. And then my relationship fell apart, and I'm like, ooh, well, there's a little intuitive nudge, Erica. Maybe you should have focused more on that section of the training. And anyway, so we separated, and I realized that I had a lot of work to do. And so I decided to make relationships the core foundation of my training, because I knew that obviously I'd made some mistakes. Obviously I'd missed something. Obviously, look, it takes two people to dance, right? So it's not just him and it's not just me. Somehow the two of us, something went wrong. So I spent 2 years diving deeply into the psychology and the nature of relationships. And I decided exactly, specifically what I wanted in my life. Now, here's the key factor. In order to attract what I wanted, I had to become the person who would attract that. So I literally spent 2 years working on myself and becoming the person who would attract what I ultimately wanted. And, I'm a big believer in faith. I'm a big believer in signposts. I'm a big believer in being guided. And look, it's really funny. When you've had a massive separation, you have this understanding that you're not ready straight away to jump into something new, right? If you take this whole thing seriously, you realize that you have work to do to heal from the past relationship, and then heal to move into a new one. And it was probably about, 18 months I've been, doing all this work and kind of visualizing, the person I wanted to attract into my life. And I always remember one morning I woke up, and it was like there were, when you hear a voice, right? Or you hear a message or something. And I remember I woke up one morning, and it was like, there were angels around, or something had come into my bedroom. And a little voice said, Erica, you are ready to fall in love again. And that's when just everything in my world kind of changed. And long story short, I was living in Bucharest at the time. And, being a single girl, of course, you go out from time to time. But I have this thing. I never, ever, ever go out on a Saturday night. I like going out on a Friday night because, it's a lot of work people, they've finished a stressful week, and it's a different atmosphere. But a Saturday night is completely different. It's like everyone's, to meet, and it's just not my thing, right? And I always remember I was sitting on the couch. It was about 9 o'clock at night, and I really did not want to go out. I had a beautiful bottle of wine. I'd made myself some dinner. I just wanted to stay at home and watch a movie. And it was the weirdest thing, guys. My body was like it was possessed by something.
Wow.
My body, yeah, it's true. My body got up off the couch. My body started going to the bathroom. My body had a shower. My body did its hair. My body put its makeup on. My body got dressed. My body, grabbed my phone and made a call to Uber. And I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going. I don't even want to go out. I don't even know where I'm going, right? Anyways, I made the call, and I'm sitting in the Uber. And I'm like, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. Like, I just want to go home. Anyway, so I set the destination to the main area in the old town, which is where they've got a lot of cafes, a lot of restaurants, a lot of, tapas bars, and it's just a really, really nice atmosphere. And so I'm looking at my legs, and my legs are going in a certain direction. I don't even know where I'm going, right? And anyway, so my legs take me to a certain bar that's down this, beautiful cobblestone alleyway. And, there's a lot of people, dancing, drinking, having a good time. I'm like, I just don't want to be here. Anyway, I got there at about 11 o'clock, and I said, I'm going to give it an hour. Obviously, I'm here for some reason. I have no idea why. I'm going to buy a drink. I'm going to have one drink, and once I finish this drink, I'm going home. Anyway, so I'm just sitting there on the piano, and I'm, just looking at everyone dancing, having a good time, and I'm drinking my drink. And after about 55 minutes, yes, I looked at my the time on my phone. I'm like, it's nearly time to go. And I just had like one sip left in my glass. And I looked down, I took my last sip, and as I looked up, I don't even know how to put it into words, but it's like thunderbolts and lightning blew up inside of me, because standing right in front of me was the most beautiful, energetic being I had ever come across. And he looked me right in the eye, and I looked at it. You know what? It was like electricity was shooting between us. And we held our gaze, and then he walked out.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, so maybe that wasn't meant to be. It's all good. Anyway, so I finished my drink, and I went outside, and I just stood for a minute, because now I'm thinking, okay, I've got to pull out my phone, call Uber. And he came over to me, and his friend came over to me, and within about 30 seconds, I realized that thunderbolts and lightning did not have a great grasp of English. He was French, and he was very shy, and he was very timid, but he wanted to make a connection. Luckily, his best friend speaks excellent English.
Oh.
And so we started a conversation, and long story short, after 3 weeks, he asked me to marry him. I said yes, and now I live in France.
Oh, my word.
That is such a beautiful story, and so inspiring, too. And
Thank you.
like I said, I think it should be a movie or something.
It sounds like a movie. I mean,
Doesn't
really,
it?
it does. I mean, you can just see the sparks flying when you make that eye connection. You just total Hollywood right there. It's just amazing.
And some people might not believe it. They might think, oh, it's too good to be true. But you're talking about how you were led, really, and how you said yes to that. And you didn't just say, oh, no, I'm not going to go out tonight.
Mm-hmm. It's so important to listen to those intuitive nudges. And guys, if you want to get a real Hollywood spin on this, what is really, really fascinating, this is about, putting your intention out to, to your higher faith. When my husband separated from me was the exact same moment that I call him Mon Amour, that Mon Amour he's been single his entire life. He's had, long-term relationships, but he's never been married. He set the intention at the exact same time that I was separating from my husband, that it was time for him to meet the one. And he believed that if he started to design his home in a certain way, that it would attract the one. Now, here's where it gets really, really freaky. The house that he was designing was the house that I had designed in my head years before.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many, I know we don't have a lot of time on this podcast, but there's so many stories I could tell you about just, having faith. And again, I call it those intuitive nudges, and just know that there is a higher power that is guiding you all the way, and to be open to all of the signs that come your way.
Yeah, definitely.
That is so awesome. Yeah. And it's so true. It's so important to be in tune with that, and to not just reason things away, especially if it's kind of unusual. Yeah.
I really hope that you had an excellent time listening to this story by Erica. We're going to continue on next week, and we're going to ask her some questions as to her opinions on, why does she think this kind of stuff happens, and get into it a little bit deeper next week. So please stay tuned for our part 2 episode. Going to be with you next Wednesday, and that is it for today. We look forward to seeing you in our second part. Talk to you guys soon.